Good morning. Back at Crane's Roost for the first time in a while. Just sent my nephew back to Oklahoma yesterday. Got him on the plane. But what I wanted to talk about today was an interesting incident we had while he was here. A little bit of a road rage kind of thing. We went last weekend down to the Cocoa Beach Air Show, and actually I've got some stuff I filmed there. I ended up using my GoPro, filmed like the Raptor display, and didn't really have enough storage on my phone, so I couldn't really zoom in like I wanted to be able to, but my phone, no matter what I deleted, kept running out of space. Even I deleted a few apps that I don't really use that much, and I was worried it was going to run out of storage space in the middle of the show, so I ended up using my GoPro. But we were on our way back home after that, and we decided to drive on up the beach to Port Canaveral and get something to eat for dinner, So we got up there, went by this one restaurant where we were thinking about getting something, and as I'm pulling up along, it's kind of back in the road that goes up to right along the water there to the restaurant. And as I'm coming up and through the parking area, there's this big giant pickup truck with a trailer along the one side there. And I guess from what it looked like later, I guess he was backed up unloading stuff for the, some equipment, looked like for the musical act or whatever there, some kind of equipment out of this trailer. And so I couldn't drive through. I had to stop off to my right, or my left, up by him where he was parked. There's an opening came in from the other main road out there, and somebody was coming through there, and so I stopped because I thought they were going to come on through and I was going to let them go, and they decided just to sit there in the middle of that intersection and let some people get out of the car, because up ahead of us there was an orange cone, so you couldn't really drive in through. They had it blocked off there. I guess they had originally planned to go up and turn left there and drop off some people at the front of the restaurant or whatever. And so I thought, okay, he's going to sit there, and I thought I had room. I knew it was going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze, so I didn't want to hit him when I turned out to the left on the other side of him. So I was staying a little bit over to the right, a little further than what I probably should have. And I heard this kind of bang, and I said to my wife, I was like, did I just hit something? And next thing I know, there's this guy screaming at me, hey, you just hit my truck, and say, hey, asshole. And I'm trying to stop. And he comes running up along the passenger side of my truck where my nephew's sitting. He's like, roll down this window. And he's like, where are you going? You just hit my truck. I was like, I know, I'm trying to park here. There's somebody behind me that I'm trying not to, block them. And I'm stopping. And so, unfortunately at this point too, I'd been kind of losing my voice that day. So I was having trouble talking loud enough for him to hear, especially with him screaming. And so I get out of the truck, and he comes around, and he's like, make the call right now. Or I don't know if he said, I'm going to make the call. I'm making the call right now, or make the call right now, or whatever. And I'm trying to calm him down, and he's just flipping out, and he's up in my face, all the classic, angry baboon shit, where he's leaning forward with his chest thrust out, and I'm just sitting there. He's up in my face, and I'm just kind of looking at him. His lips are all trembling and shit, and he's shaking, and like I say, he's got his chest thrust out and his arms down by his side, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy is losing it, And I can see where, he'd be pissed, thinks somebody's going to hit his truck and drive off or whatever. But then I'm trying to park, and then he's screaming at me, you idiot, you can't park here, because there's this, can't you see this orange cone? And I'm like, well, if I try to park somewhere out here, you're saying I'm driving off, and so I'm parking right here, so we can talk. And so you don't think I'm driving away. And so anyways, I got my phone and I got on 911 and I told the lady, look, I just, it looked like what happened was his mirror got pushed in on his truck. You know, I guess the only thing I can figure is that the very end of my mirror, I have a Ford Ranger, kind of big mirror there, and I guess it must have clipped the end of his mirror and pushed his mirror in a little, you know, up against his truck, and I don't know, the bang must have been maybe my mirror, you know, my mirror too, kind of like snapping back a little or whatever, and then I don't know, but that's the only thing I can figure, because and this other guy came out, and the guy was yelling at him like, "This asshole just hit my truck and tried to drive away," and I don't know if that guy was like the manager of the restaurant there or who, something like that, you know. And so he went and he was looking, trying to calm the guy down, and he's and I'm on the phone with 911 at this point, you know, and I told the lady, look, I got this guy out here, you know, acting like he wants to kick my ass and accusing me of trying to drive away, and you know, like I say, I was kind of losing my voice too at the time, and I'm trying to talk to her, and he's screaming, and you know, it's like, I guess it looks, you know, the guy told me, hey, there's just a little tiny scratch. You know, that manager was looking at things, and the guy went back over and was looking at it, and I told him, you know, I guess I must have just clipped his mirror on his truck, and she must have thought I was talking about maybe I clipped a person or something. She's like, oh, you clipped who? And no, so I'm trying to talk so she can understand me, and then finally the other manager or whoever there was just like, he's like, look, man, we don't need to get the police out here just for this, you know, don't. And he's trying to calm the other guy down, and he's telling me, look, to get out of there. And then finally the other guy's like, look, just get the fuck out of here and all this. So I don't know. I'm not sure why he didn't want me to go ahead and have the cops come out. Maybe he realized he just like flipped out and overreacted about something. I mean, yeah, you know, I put myself in his shoes too. If you think somebody just like, you know, hit your truck and driving away or something, because it made kind of like an unusually loud noise for, you know, it was, because it totally shocked me, because I'm like, there's no way I hit this guy, but I guess it was just the very tip of his mirror, you know, with my mirror, because I knew I should have had room there. But what I should have done was just waited for the other car to finish unloading their people and sitting there in the middle of the street and doing what they were doing. But man, it brings home some lessons, you know, just how quick something like that can happen. Because we're just there looking for a place to go and eat. So I find a grouper sandwich somewhere since I was over there at the coast. And man, this guy lost it. He went instantly from like 0 to just full-blown psycho in no time flat, you know. And my nephew kind of has some issues, supposedly with like schizophrenia, autism, or whatever. So I didn't have any firearms on me. Usually if I'd have been driving off somewhere that far from home, I would have had a gun in the truck or on my person, and I didn't even want my nephew to see me handling a firearm or even hear me doing anything with a firearm the whole time he was here. So aside from getting a few reps while he was there with you know, just like bringing up the pistol to, you know, pointing it at something and making sure the sights were lining up and I was presenting it properly, that's the only kind of practice I got with them the whole time he was here. So I was keeping those well hidden. And so I didn't have any weapons on me. But that guy, I don't know, he got up in my face, like I say, the whole, you know, angry baboon thing. And I don't know, maybe he didn't get the kind of reaction from me that he was used to getting, because he kind of like, after that, he kind of like backed off a little, you know? Because I was just kind of standing there staring at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And just, you know, looking at his face and watching his lips trembling. He probably is used when he does that kind of shit. He's a pretty big guy. He was probably a few inches taller than me. I don't know. You know, what his capabilities were or anything like that, but I don't know. Maybe he saw something in my eyes too whenever he got in my space and trying to intimidate me, and I was just kind of like looking at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you, you know? But yeah, I mean, that's how quick it could happen, you know? If that guy had wanted to pull out a gun or a knife or something and just freak out and say motherfucker and like go for me, I'd have been in a really bad spot, you know. And like 30 seconds before that, the only thing I was thinking about was just where am I going to get a grouper sandwich, you know. And that's how quick it happens. You just never know when you're going to run into somebody that is having a bad day or just overreacting totally all out of proportion to the reality of a situation. And I don't know what this guy's issues were, but I know that manager was once he got involved, he was kind of doing his best to make sure we didn't get the cops involved, you know. And whether he was just thinking, look, this is nothing, why are we wasting the police's time on this? Because that lady was like, I had her on the phone and she's like, do you want me to have a deputy respond? And finally I was just like back in my car, and my wife's like, no, let him come, you know, and like just get this taken care of, and they're telling me, no, get the hell out of here. So I was like, no, come on, let's just like end this situation and go. And so then I realized that I was still on the phone with 911, and she was still there. And she said, okay, I'll tell the deputy that everything's okay and not to respond. But yeah, it was crazy. Just like that, man. And yeah, this guy, I don't know. Maybe he had some issues too, where he didn't want the police responding. Maybe he's had issues with the cops himself or something. But they kind of just once I actually did get on the phone and say, no, fine, I'm bringing the police here and we'll take care of this. And all of a sudden, it was they started calming down a little bit, you know. But that guy, wow. You see this stuff all the time, though, on the news about these road rage people and everything. And it happens easy. Anyways, yeah, that was an interesting experience. Just a good reminder how fast things can happen. Also a good reminder why it's nice to not leave all your weapons at home. On the other hand, you know, I'm in no hurry to... It's not like if I had a gun with me, I was going to pull it out and shoot the guy. He'd have had to done a whole lot more than what he did for me to be thinking about pulling out a gun, you know. But it just shows you don't know. End up in one of these situations like you see on the news all the time with people driving down the highway shooting at you because they feel like you cut them off, you know, or they were fucking around in the left-hand lane and you decide to go around them or something, and all that just sets them off. You don't know. People are crazy. And you never know what the day is going to bring, man. See you later.